Joining me is Stuart Ayres, the New South Wales Deputy Liberal leader and also Minister for Western Sydney. Thank you so much, Stuart Ayres, for coming on the show. What is the latest on the flooding risk downstream from the Warragamba in Western Sydney?
Well, Andrew, it's really picked up a lot of speed over the last 12 hours or so. We look like we're going to see larger inflows into the Warragamba Dam than what we saw in the March 21 floods last year. So that will make a lot of people who live across the Hawkesbury-Nepean pretty nervous as they go into the night this evening and what we see tomorrow morning. Hopefully that will peak some stage tomorrow, but there is so much water forward of the dam already in the catchment. And as that water makes its way from rivers and estuaries and tributaries right around the feeding areas of the dam, there's nowhere else to hold that water. So that water just has to flow straight through Warragamba Dam. That'll put a lot of pressure on the communities through Penrith and into the Hawkesbury. Villages and towns like Richmond, Pitttown, Windsor will all see a fair amount of water over the next 24 to 48 hours. The SES has just recently, in the last hour or so, put out evacuation warnings for locations across the Penrith and Nepean and Hawkesbury areas.
Look, I see you're in the SES command centre there. You must be on top of all this. Do you think the dam operators waited too long to do the releases a week, 2 weeks ago and make room for the rain to make sure that they could stagger the releases so people downstream weren't flooded out?
No, I don't think they have made a mistake there. I think it's absolutely critical we hold the water in the dam. One of the things, if you release too much water, even small amounts of water, even released a week ago or 2 weeks ago, still wouldn't have made their way through the Hawkesbury River system out to the ocean. So if that had have happened, we actually would have exacerbated the flood event that's going to take place or that is taking place right now and will continue to happen over the next 24 hours. This is a real misconception, Andrew, that exists around the management of the dam, that we can release small amounts of water out of this massive dam and that'll reduce the flood impact downstream. In fact, what it will actually do is make the flood worse. That's why raising the dam by 14 metres to hold more water back for a longer period of time is absolutely critical. It's the most important infrastructure solution to making the Hawkesbury-Nepean Valley more flood resilient. We've done lots of things around educating the community, improving flood evacuation routes, signage, information, flood mapping, flood modelling. All of those things have improved our response, but none of them actually stop the water. The only thing that will do that is a higher dam wall. That buys us more time to allow those areas that are going to be inundated because they're so low to evacuate them safely. But particularly for about 75% of all of the floods that we'll see, it'll stop most areas being inundated.
Well, you don't need to sell me on that dam extension. I've got that. But you've now got people in Western Sydney who could be flooded out again. I know you've been pushing it, but how do you explain to these people having to move house and risk losing possessions, etc., that you still can't build that extension of the Warragamba Dam and divert at least some of this floodwater? What is the opposition and why are we still arguing about it?
Well, we have some pretty strict obligations under the law around explaining what the environmental impact is when we do a project like this, and I don't have a problem with that. I just want to make sure that the people across Western Sydney get a fair hearing. And when it comes to things like biodiversity offsets, I really don't think they get that fair hearing at the moment. It adds cost that I believe is unnecessary to the project. The main reason why I think it's unnecessary, Andrew, is because the floodwater is only ever going to be held behind this dam for a temporary period of time. That temporary time could last as short as 2 hours and as long as 14 days. Yes, there will be some environmental impacts on the foliage that exists behind the dam during that period of time, but it will regenerate. We've done a number of scientific tests with the CSIRO around what inundation for 14 days looks like and what damage it does to trees. And the best example that I can give you here is that we do hazard reduction for bushfires all over the state. We do it all over the country. In fact, 2 years ago when we were doing those horrible Black Saturday bushfires, we were hazard reduction burning all over the World Heritage Blue Mountains. We were doing it all over the south coast of New South Wales to build containment lines. We didn't ask the head of the RFS to secure a biodiversity offset when we were doing that hazard reduction. Just because this is water we shouldn't ask the people to do the same thing. Seriously, the people would march in the street if we asked Jane Fitzsimmons or Rob Rogers to go and do a biodiversity offset before they did a hazard reduction during a bushfire. Why would we ask them to do the same thing for flood mitigation?
I don't get it. I don't get it. I mean, this whole green movement, it's really got to be nipped in the bud. You say the laws are too strong. Look, we all want to be responsible to the environment, but maybe we've got to change the laws. I just think this is crazy. Here we're sitting again with more people, chased out of their homes by floodwaters. It's not a 21st century solution. I think it's weird. Look, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate that, and good luck to the people in your area there. Stuart Ayres, thank you for your time.